All right, joining us now from Texas, Republican Congressman, Chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCaul. Welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Hi, Shannon.
Okay, while we talk about them, I want to put up the 13 service members, their names, their faces, so that we don't forget, just 2 years out from this. You heard the parents there say they've been disrespected, disregarded, they've been lied to. You've been fighting with the State Department as we close in on this 2-year anniversary for documents, back and forth, subpoenas, all kinds of things. Are you confident you'll be able to get answers for these families and, more broadly, for all Americans?
I will not rest until we do get answers and accountability and transparency as to what happened. How did this go so wrong? And the Gold Star families are the best, witnesses to this nightmare. They lost their 13 servicemen and women. Abbey Gate. We had the testimony of Tyler Andrew Vargas, who said, quote, "I had the suicide bomber in my sights, but I was not given permission to engage him." And after that, the bomb went off, killing 170 people, 13 servicemen and women. And Shannon, this is sort of news breaking. We just have reported today, a member of my staff, Jerry Dunleavy, with his book, Kabul, that U.S. intelligence had ISIS-K in their sights, knowing they were plotting to take out Abbey Gate on the very same day that it was taken down when the suicide bomber went off. They asked the Taliban to go in, our U.S. military. The Taliban denied. U.S. intelligence requested an airstrike. Guess what? That airstrike was denied. Was denied to go in and take out the very forces that then killed our 13 servicemen and women. This story gets worse by the day, and I will not rest till we get to the bottom of it.
Well, Chairman, who would have known about what you're telling us? First time that I'm hearing it this morning, that level of detail about the intel that we had and the order that was denied. Who would have had that information? Who would have made that call?
Well, it was the general on the ground, Mr. Donahue. It would be General McKenzie, who's in charge of SITCOM and the operation. It goes all the way up, Shannon, to General Milley. And his decision-making, and the Secretary of Defense. We've been denied access to these witnesses, and we're prepared to go forward with subpoenas to get to the bottom, because these Gold Star families that you just showed deserve the truth as to what happened, to make sure this never happens again. But this was not a clean operation. This was not a successful evacuation by any stretch of the imagination. And the Taliban was put in charge, and in my judgment, that was the worst mistake of all, was to put them in charge and not our U.S. military to evacuate U.S. citizens and our partners that fought so bravely with us.
Yeah, and many were left behind and still are 2 years later. So I want to ask you about this. There's a new report out from the Special Inspector General overseeing Afghanistan reconstruction. Washington Free Beacon has this headline from the report. They say the Biden administration has given $2.35 billion to Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. So what do you tell American taxpayers about their dollars flowing to that group, as you said, that was critical in what happened at Abbey Gate, and now is clearly, disrespectful is the nicest way that I can say it, to women, to girls, to religious minorities? Those are U.S. tax dollars.
I'm prepared in my position to put a hold on this funding until we get assurances it's not going right into the hands of the Taliban that, by the way, Shannon, are oppressing women. They can't go out of their homes. They can't get educated. Women can't even be hired by these NGO, these charitable organizations in Afghanistan, and we're paying the money. The U.S. taxpayer is funding this. We need some assurance that this is going to go to the right hands, and it's going to help the women in Afghanistan. And if the Taliban cannot assure us that, I think we need to be prepared to cut that funding off as a stick rather than giving them just a carrot.
Well, it brings up another item I want to ask you about, which is this deal that's apparently coming together to free Americans from being held wrongfully in Iran. It would free up $6 billion in frozen assets for the Iranians to use. I believe we're releasing some Iranian prisoners as well. We are told that there will be strict guardrails on that money that Iran will now get access to. Here is Democrat and veteran, one of your colleagues, Congressman Seth Moulton.
This money is going to still sit in a Qatari bank account only the Qataris will have authority to release it. So basically what will happen is Iran will say, hey, we want to buy $10 million worth of grain. Qatar will write the check for that themselves. The grain will go to Iran.
The administration says they will have transparency about where the money goes. Are you confident of that?
Well, look, Reagan said trust but verify, but I have to use the word naivete. Look, these are like accounts in South Korea frozen, assets going to Switzerland, and then to Doha, Qatar, to then go into Iran. The idea that the Ayatollah is not going to have any control over this money. And by the way, we're talking about $6 billion, right? $6 billion. Under Obama, it was $400 million of cash and airplanes that went into Iran. Look, I want to get these Americans home more than anybody. And one of them is a critical asset. I agree with that. But we have to go in eyes wide open. $6 billion that now is going to go into Iran and prop up their proxy war terror operations and their nuclear bomb aspirations. They are now starting to talk about the JCPOA all over again, which in my judgment will lead us down a course to a legal nuclear bomb in Iran. Prime Minister Netanyahu came out strongly against this. I think we're going back to the mistakes of the past. And finally, Shannon, get this. Our special envoy to Iran to negotiate the JCPOA is under investigation for mishandling classified information. He has the most sensitive information as our top negotiator to Iran and to the Ayatollah, now under investigation for mishandling classified information. Very troubling story.
All right, I have so much more to ask you about, but Chairman, we got to leave it there so I can bring in your colleague. We always appreciate your time, sir. Come back soon.
Thanks, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.